The following day, Cry and Liz journeyed to the most perilous district of the metropolis, and she still believed this was a romantic outing. Cry informed her it wasn't a rendezvous, and he was there for professional reasons, based on intelligence he obtained from Eva. Numerous individuals had vanished from the impoverished areas, and although it wasn't typically something that would trouble him, he was apprehensive that the absent slime might be implicated somehow. As an added perk, there was also a new frozen dessert parlor nearby, and Cry intended to visit it after performing the absolute minimum required for his assignment. He suggested to Liz that they should visit the frozen dessert establishment first, and she was truly delighted, but the proprietor of the frozen dessert parlor was not. He was the identical fellow whom Liz apprehended previously, but Cry released. He dreaded that Cry genuinely allowed him to escape intentionally, and now he was there to seize him. He didn't even comprehend how Cry could discover that this frozen dessert establishment was merely a facade for one of the research facilities of the Akashic Tower. He planned to shut down the shop instantly, but then the entrance abruptly swung open, and a crimson-haired woman named Sophia entered. The man saw a glimmer of optimism for himself now, because Sophia was actually the director of all the security-related matters in their organization outside their portal. Liz grew restless and attempted to blast the door apart, but Cry restrained her, suggesting that perhaps the shop wasn't open that day. She unwillingly complied with him, and they returned to their group, much to the counterfeit shopkeeper's comfort. Back in his workplace, Cry inquired of Liz if she knew when the alchemist Citri would return from the level 8 treasure repository. Liz stated that she might require some additional period, and Cry merely wished that she returned before her slime devastated the entire metropolis in the meantime. Eva entered the workplace and informed him that the Hunter Association had assembled a squad to examine the White Wolf's lair. It appeared they were exerting maximum effort this instant, dispatching even a relic specialist to see if they could uncover anything novel. Cry contemplated that it seemed to be a significant affair, but that didn't perturb him because he wasn't venturing there regardless. Conversely, the shopkeeper reached the central office of Akashic Tower and notified everyone that Cry had located him. He was petrified because Cry discerned their flawless camouflage, and then didn't even initiate any measures against them. He trembled, stating that he couldn't even conjecture what was transpiring within Cry's thoughts, and others also felt perplexed in this predicament. They turned to Sophia for recommendation, and she advised them that they should confront Cry and his group leader directly. Everyone was astonished, but she guaranteed them that they possessed a prospect of triumph, even though their adversary was at level 8. She was certain that the protective measures she had constructed could prevail against Cry's group, and the elderly mage granted her the authorization to proceed as she desired because they couldn't evade this conflict indefinitely. The following day, the edifice of the First Steps group was completely filled with adventurers. As Tino entered the structure, she was startled to witness so many individuals, and inquired of a fellow what was happening. He informed her that they had congregated there to investigate the White Wolf's lair, and Tino pondered that this was a little excessive. Nevertheless, the man informed her that Cry was intending to dispatch Ark there initially, and Tino was even more astounded. Dispatching a level 7 hunter like Ark to a level 3 treasure repository implied that the situation was more critical than anyone could foresee. That was why the association and their group had assembled a substantial quantity of treasure hunters to compensate for that presently. Cry and Eva also arrived there, and Cry inquired if all these individuals had assembled for some type of festivity. Eva informed him that they were proceeding to investigate the White Wolf's lair. She clarified that since Cry requested Ark to handle the task, she assembled a force that could function as his replacement. That came as a surprise to Cry because he mentioned Ark because he was the quintessential Mr. Perfect who executed everything flawlessly. He considered that deploying this many individuals would be extremely costly, so he proposed that they diminish the quantity by half. The hunters panicked upon hearing that because they believed they were going to perish now. Eva appeased everyone and stated that Cry must have something vital to convey to them, which he clearly did not. He attempted to inform them that the complexity of the mission wouldn't be as elevated as they assumed, but they declined to believe him. Cry turned to Eva and inquired about the compensation for the hunter, and discovered that Chief Gark had allocated supplementary funds to ensure everyone was paid adequately. With the monetary matter resolved, Cry instructed the hunters to proceed as they pleased, and they were pleased that they could all proceed to the repository together. Just then, Liz arrived, labeling them a collection of cowards who were too feeble and didn't even possess the courage to surmount obstacles to become potent. She leaped up to Cry's position, declaring that she would undertake this mission, and she simply required Tino to accompany her. Cry instantly declined to entertain her request because he didn't wish to jeopardize Tino's life and didn't desire the spirits of other individuals to decline. He stated that everyone present would proceed on the mission, and then Eva instructed him to assume leadership of the group. Cry was taken aback to hear this, but everyone else was relieved, thinking that their security was assured since the group leader was accompanying them. Cry recognized that he couldn't simply state that he wasn't going to accompany them, so he stated that he would be joining them subsequently. Until then, Sven, who was already at the White Wolf's lair, would assume command before everyone departed. Cry instructed one individual to be cautious of slime creatures in the unlikely event they were present in the repository. The team of treasure hunters proceeded to the treasure repository, oblivious that it was the base of Akashic Tower, who believed that Cry had dispatched the treasure hunters to deal with them. While they were conflicted about how to react, Sophia stated that this was their opportunity to assault the hunters while they were still unprepared. She stated that her defensive system had been engineered to combat the most formidable hunter, and only the Grievers party combined could overcome it. However, only Cry, Liz, and the alchemist Citri were near the capital presently, and she already had strategies on how to defeat Cry and Liz. Citri was the sole individual she didn't have a foolproof tactic against, but it appeared that Sophia had some personal grievances to settle with her, and she proclaimed that she would vanquish her personally. She stated that Citri discovered their leader's hypothesis about establishing new treasure repository, and she had been experimenting with that as well. Sophia stated that they couldn't permit her to do that, and requested the mage's authorization to utilize their entire firepower to halt her. The mage granted her the authorization and appointed her the commander of their forces for this conflict, but his second-in-command didn't appear to be enthusiastic about it. Above them, Sven and his party didn't discover anything unusual, but he still believed that Cry dispatched them there for some specific objective. Abruptly, he received a communication and requested his teammate to sound the emergency whistle to alert the other treasure hunter. Once they were outside, Sven relayed Cry's message about being wary of a slime creature, and the treasure hunters were irritated because they were supposed to be following instructions from a man who didn't even possess the nerve to be present on site. Sven instructed them to trust Cry's judgment, and then recounted a tale about how he once welcomed everyone to a flower viewing gathering and instructed them to bring their weapon. Just as Cry proposed a toast, a treasure repository materialized behind him, and everyone realized that he predicted this. The hunters were astonished by this, and Sven once again informed them that the information Cry provided was more valuable than anything else they could discover. Back in Cry's workplace, Liz was bothering him to assign her some work as well, because she wished to exhibit her combat abilities in front of him. Cry was already annoyed by her conduct, and wondered how much longer he had to endure her before the hunters could resolve the predicament in the White Wolf's lair, and he could simply appear there at the conclusion. Just then, the alchemist Citri arrived, informing Cry that she was there to assist him in dealing with an incredibly formidable and astute organization that could pose a threat to the entire world shortly. Cry instantly ejected Liz and Tino from the workplace as he listened to the particulars about Akashic Tower from Citri. And on the opposite side of the metropolis, GRC also donned his combat attire to enter the treasure repository and demonstrate that his prime was still not over. His aide attempted to dissuade him because he was undoubtedly going to strain some muscles and injure his back. Unexpectedly, Citri came to see him and shared some crucial information regarding their true adversary.